Hi, I'm going to read Chapter 6 of Bluish. All. It was Friday afternoon, and Bluish had gone to the doctor. They became more worried about her each time she went. Students stood around, looking at Miss Baker. Like Dreeny, they didn't know exactly how they were feeling. It upset them when Bluish got sick. Each time she left suddenly for the doctor, they feared she wouldn't come back. Miss Baker could tell and began talking to them. Natalie's mom doesn't want you to feel sorry for Natalie, Miss Baker told them. She wants you to understand that Natalie's been very sick. It was then Dreeny thought to say, I want to know more. Kids said, we want to know more. Miss Baker frowned, pressing her lips firmly together. She went to the blackboard. Natalie has ALL, she said, writing it on the board, which is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. It's a serious and painful disease. Kids left their seats. Slowly, they came up to the front. Miss Baker was the lamplight they were drawn to like moths. Hearing her talk about Bluish made them stop and think about this worry they'd been having, and now they could show it, they could let it out. Miss Baker put her chalk down and reached out to them. Dreeny took her hand a moment. Tully had Miss Baker by the arm. Other students did the same. When Dreeny and Tully let go, milling around Miss Baker, they all watched her expression. They knew every line of her face, knew every smile and stern reproach. Natalie still must take medicines, Miss Baker went on, but once she's gone through the program, she has an 85 to 90% chance of being cured. So please, her mother asks that you treat her the way you would want to be treated, and try not to feel sorry for her. Class, Miss Baker added, I want you to know I'm proud of you, the way you've come to regard Natalie. But, Dreeny began, but what does that mean? 85 to 90%. Where's the rest? That's not 100%. Miss Baker spoke clearly yet quietly. It means that if Natalie goes from the start of her treatment through 5 years without a relapse, she's probably forever cured. They stared at her. 5 whole years, Jamal said. Wow, that's long. We'll be 15. What's a relapse? Dassan wanted to know. A relapse is a restart of an illness that's been in remission, that's been halted. Miss Baker took up the chalk and wrote, relapse and remission. Their questions came one after the other. But when did it start? Dreeny asked. Miss Baker never answered her directly. She looked around at all of them. Sit down, class, she told them. We'll talk about it. They sat down, but soon they were up out of their seats again. Miss Baker was used to them. They needed to talk, get close, wander away, listening, and come back to the front again. One student, Linda, was the first to comment. I feel bad, but I feel funny. I don't know. I guess I can't help it. I feel sorry for her. Dreeny sat and squirmed. All of them talking about Bluish? Was it talking behind her back? Is it like us against her? Us together and her by herself? But she's the sick one, and we're not. Dreeny had the worst feeling of being afraid of what she didn't know. Yes, I do. Of me getting sick, she thought. Her stomach flopped a moment. Class, Miss Baker said. Does it make you uncomfortable to talk about it? Yes, several students piped up. Yeah, it does. One said, I get scared I'll catch it. I know you can't. Can you? No, don't worry, Miss Baker said. You don't know how to act about it, a boy, Nicholas said. Jamal said, you think she's going to be just like us? Only you do something, playing, not to hurt her. Her mouth turns down. She gets all sad and can get mean, man. Shoot, I stay away from her. It seems to me you are all learning about a student who is your classmate and who has been very ill, Miss Baker said. What else have you learned? Well, Blue doesn't like fooling around play. That's for sure, Paula said. Tully said, she told me once she didn't want to get bruised when kids got rowdy. A bruise is bloodletting. I used to bleed and bleed, she said. I kid you none. That's what she told us. Didn't she, Dreeny? Dreeny nodded. It was true, and Bluish had told Drini even more. Miss Baker said, Talithia, Natalie was telling you that when the illness started, she didn't have tiny blood platelets. And what we all have to do, and we all have to have them. Platelets plug the blood vessels and stop the bleeding. It must have been scary to bleed and not stop. Tassan raised his hand. What stopped it then? She don't bleed now. Blood transfusions, Miss Baker said. Medicines that worked. Tentatively, Drini raised her hand. They all felt she was the one closest to Bluish. Miss Baker, all of them waited. Drini sighed and finally said, Chemo is like dying. That's what Natalie told me. She said what made her faint was this needle they put in her back into her hip bone. She said it was a long, hollow needle that drew out the bone marrow. Ew, kids murmured. Yuckies. Class, Miss Baker said, shushing them. Bluish had told Drini things in bits and pieces, and not all at one time. Drini remembered, though, doing their work, talking low now and then. That's what the cure is about, Miss Baker said. It's about having no sick cells inside her bones. In the marrow. She wrote on the board, marrow, M-A-R-R-O-W, site of blood cell reproduction. Drini nodded. She said they often have to stick the needle way in and draw out bone marrow to look at it and check it. It was like Bluish was in her head. She could hear her. That's what kills you. It hurts so bad. It sucks, man. Like sucking on a straw. It sucks your insides out. It sucks out your light. Drini didn't feel like she should tell them. It was something just so deep of Bluish. What she did tell them was, she said she didn't want us talking about her illness. And here we are. Drini looked down at her hands. I can understand her not wanting that, Miss Baker said. I'll take the blame. I hoped you all would learn to respect what it means to be well, to be healthy the way you are, so that you will see more clearly what Natalie must go through. She erased everything on the board. I got a sore throat, Manny the K said. Oh, Manny, Miss Baker said. Am I going to die? Miss Baker looked perturbed. Stop it now, she told him sternly. I'll send you to the nurse if your throat is really bad. It's okay, he said, alarmed, looking ashamed of himself. Kids snickered. Miss Baker said that was enough, and to get back to work. Friday evening, after Tuli left, after Drini's mom and dad were home, she called Bluish. She remembered to say Bluish's name properly. Bluish's mom answered the ring. Is Natalie there? It's Drini from school. Hi, Drini, wait a minute. Drini held her breath. She tried to tell if Miss Winburn was upset with her, but she couldn't tell. Why would she be, Drini thought. Don't make up stuff. Bluish got on the phone. Hi, she said. You sound okay, Drini said. Why shouldn't I? She answered. Well, you weren't in school. I have the doctors. Yeah, I know. Miss Baker told us. Instantly, she was sorry she'd mentioned it. There was a pause. You all were talking about me, Bluish said. We were worried, Drini said. Miss Baker told us we wouldn't worry. Told us so we wouldn't worry. You're worried about me? I mean all of you? Yeah, sure, Drini said. Silence on the other end. I'm okay, Bluish said finally. There was a tremble in her voice. They talked more. Drini told her ordinary things that happened in school, and told her that her dad and Willie had found out about a fun thing at this middle school not far from Bethune. It was an African market. I mean, a whole market they'll have. It's 2 days after Christmas. You want to go? Tuli's going with me, and my dad. She doesn't have anyone to go with. Willie's going with some friends. Well, Bluish said, maybe. My dad usually has to drive when I go someplace like that. I can't walk like anybody. I know, Drini said. It's after Christmas, on the 27th. I'll have to ask, Bluish said. Are you coming to school Monday? Remember the field trip? I know. I didn't forget. What do you think? They talked a while. Then Bluish said, thanks for calling. See ya, Drini said. She wanted to go over, to see how Bluish was doing over the weekend. Maybe Bluish wouldn't feel good, though, and wouldn't want her to see. She'd say, "No, you can't come over." So Drini hung up the phone without asking. Over the weekend, Drini visited Tuli. Well, Tuli came and got her. Drini's mom sounded cautious with them, telling Drini, "Now, I want you to stay in Tuli's house. You hear, Drini? I don't want you walking to the grocery store or to the pharmacy. It's Sunday. Everybody's home from work, out and around." Missus, Tuli said. "Too cold. Nobody's standing out or sitting playing chess or dominoes in this weather." "The more reason to stay inside," Drini's mom said. "Empty streets." Drini sighed. The streets were never empty, but she knew why her mom was fearful about Tuli's neighborhood. It wasn't so bad. Besides, Tuli was her friend. Drini guessed she really was, and sometimes you had to go visit whatever kind of friend you had at her house. "Well, can I at least go to afternoon services with her and her grandmom?" "That's all right, you two go with Gilla." "Well, good at last," Drini said. "We get to do something." "Drini," her mom said, "you guys get to do a lot." Drini wore a yellow wool sweater and a gray skirt with gray tights and black boots. She wore her winter jacket, which was burnt gold color. It was hooded and warm. They went uptown east and around the park. Tuli's building was right there, halfway in on 112th Street. Their halls were only a little warmer than the outside. Drini could hear people in the apartments, radios, television. There was no one like Mr. Palmer to greet them as they came in. No Christmas tree. They went up. "Grandma, open up." "Don't you have your key?" Drini asked her. "Sure, I got my key," Tuli said. "But Grandma don't like the sound of a key in the lock. It makes her nervous." Gilla Bennett opened the door. She was in her robe and slippers. A thin, wiry woman. She looked tired. "Hi, Grandma Gilla," Drini said. "Hello, Drini. You look nice." "I see you're not dressed," Tuli said to her grandma. "No, don't feel much like going out today," she told Tuli. "I didn't get off the job until way late. But I made you your favorite soup, baby." Drini sat down at the kitchen table. Everything was neat and clean, but bare. There is not much extra in Tuli's house. The soup smelled good on the stove. Drini realized she was hungry. Tuli filled bowls with potato and meat soup. Then she sprinkled grated cheese on top. "This is really good," Drini said. There was bread that Grandma had made. Drini had a big piece. "Hits the spot," Grandma said. Drini and Tuli both agreed it did. Afterward, Grandma went to take a nap, and Drini and Tuli cleaned off the table, did the few dishes, and put them away. "I guess we're not going to afternoon services, then," Drini said finally. "We could go, but you're not supposed to go without Grandma, and I don't want to go anyways." "All dressed up and no place to go," Drini said. She didn't feel disappointed exactly. "Well, that's just the way it is," Tuli said. "I lead a sad life," sounding like an actress. "No, you don't either," Drini said. "Yeah, I do. I got up and dressed, and Grandma was still asleep." Gilla worked a night shift, helping to guard a large business. Drini was silent. Finally, she said, "You got Grandma. You got me and my family." Tuli stared at her, eyes blank. "And you look like a model." That made Tuli smile broadly. "Yeah? I do?" "Yeah, you do," Drini told her, and she meant it. They played checkers for a while and listened to the radio. Sitting on Tuli's bed, they painted their nails. Tuli painted hers sunlight yellow. "I love Christmas time," Drini said, "but I can't wait for summer to come." She painted her nails a deep rose. "We ought to make a resolution to do something different each week next summer," Tuli said. "Maybe by then, Bluish can go do stuff with us and walk too." "You're always thinking about her," Tuli whined. "What about me?" Drini sighed. She let it go. But soon after, she said she had stuff to do. She went home relieved. Soon, she'd be seeing Willie and her mom and dad. Journal. Bluish. Trip out in the field? The vivarium. Well, how could you guess? I didn't. Nobody did. We get on the bus, and Bluish, she gets to go. She's as excited as me, only we don't show it. Tuli, stop jiggling, we tell Tuli Fooly, and we all laugh. Then we all jiggle, and the bus goes. We had all the kids, and Max and Miss Baker. Guess what? Miss Winburn. She came with us, but she sat with Max, talked to him. She didn't bother us. Bluish told her mom she wouldn't speak to her if she watched us or anything. Whoop! We didn't even notice her mom after a while. But how could anyone guess, huh? Yay! We get down there, and there, National History Museum, Central Park, west of 79th. Really great with flags flowing in the cold. We get out. I want to count the steps with the rest of the kids. But how's Bluish going to get up with so many steps? Her mom pointed to the sign. I saw it too. It says, wheelchair access. That means Bluish, and we get to go too. Mrs. says we can, me and Tuli and Bluish in the chair and her mom. Not that her mom's not nice, she's just kind of different than my family, but this is not about her. We went to the side of the big steps and went under and through a big door. We went on in that way to an elevator and up to the second floor. We meet the kids coming in and follow them. Where are we going? Man, it's the Great Hall of the Dinosaurs, we call it. Has this great big skeleton and murals like 2 stories high on each end? Story of peoples from different times. Miss Baker spoke about them. All these visiting far, real, big people going to different parts of the museum and getting tickets, paying money. Miss Baker took care of us. We all stood together. Max put us in bunches because we all can't go in at once. Too many of us. It's not a great big place, Max says. Well, where is it? In the vivarium. It's a closed habitat. We went into the Oceana Hall of Birds part, they call it, where they put the vivarium. They told us, you have to get through the first doors quickly. Don't let anything escape. Go through the next doors and you are in, her mom said. Okay, I could wheel Bluish. I did. We get through the doors and we didn't let anything out. Nobody minded that our 10th bunch went first, that our 10 bunch went first. Almost too many kids. Oh, it's hot. I want to stand, Bluish. She stood. Tuli sat in Bluish's chair. Paula pushed Tuli Fooly. Funny. Bluish is just like anybody standing. Always some of us have our caps on, just like her, so nobody knows she's been sick. Bluish and us, walking around looking at everything. It took her breath some, but she loved it there. I let her take my arm. She is so very not heavy. Her mom watches, but I don't tell Bluish. It was so hot and wet in there, it curled my hair. They call it a made-up fragile forest in the middle of icy New York. Called it tropical butterflies alive in winter, the official name. Not just any little butterflies too, but 500 great big ones and little ones from the tropics. 80 degrees in there. Whew! The humidity is way high too. Oh, the butterflies, tropical plants, and rotting food, they like it. One landed on Max's sweater. We held out our arms. Butterflies came soon. It was so fun. Colors were so many, pretty, be gentle, so bright. A big one landed on my shoulder, then on Bluish, right on her arm. It was humongous. Max, look on Bluish. Bluish's eyes got great big. Her face lit up, man. She looked so happy. It's all blue, she said. It's way big too, Tuli said. Honey, don't bring it near me. I'll scream if you do. But I watched Bluish. Her face filled. She was all happy. Butterfly giant. Max says, reading, it's a blue morpho with a big wingspan. It's a big butterfly. They told us not to brush the butterflies off us. Let them walk off or lead them onto a plant, or we could hurt them. Butterflies are poisonous, toxic, most of them. Max was reading it. Bluish stares at the blue morpho as it finds a plant, looking so far away now. But I read her. I didn't look. Knew she was thinking, me, bluish, toxic me. That don't mean nothing. You weren't born that way. I told it to the air. The morpho fluttered its wings open, then half closed like breathing out and in. Bluish wobbled. I got her chair for her. Her mom helped her and took Bluish out to the great hall. I stayed in to watch all kinds. A zebra, swallowtail that looked like the animal, orange ones, and one little red-rimmed one. I read a pamphlet about all the butterflies. I'm going to put it up in my room so I'll know. Willie's going to want one. So I took 2. I like the Isabella tiger butterfly. It's so dainty. The monarch looks small next to the big blue morpho. There's something scary about that morpho. Like it bites, maybe. All so bright and deadly. Maybe. Border all black. Going through the vivarium, all of us, didn't take more than an hour. You can't stand the humidity longer than 15 minutes. I gave a last look to the tropics. Giant green plants and a giant blue morpho. Well, it sure was something. From egg to caterpillar to pupa. When the caterpillar doesn't eat or move, it rests and becomes an adult. The bitter butterfly. We don't have time for the nature shop outside the vivarium. Shoot. But whoop, I got an idea. Guess what? That's the end of chapter 6. Please tune into the next video for chapter 7. For now, we'll stop the recording.